Okay, a question came in on the comments about a lathe that he's trying to make it go. It's some poor quality lathe in poor condition from the sounds of it, okay? If you're not doing a total scrape it, do it right, get everything correct, I have cheated these before a little bit. On this one here, this is a flat surface, supposed to be. So you take this surface, go along it with a straight edge, get those flat, cross-check them as best you can, and if part of it needs to come off, you do what you should never do. You hit it a little bit with a grinder, a sander, a file, and you knock it down. Same idea here in the ways. You put something for a measurement, because these ones are supposed to be parallel. In this case, I'd use 2 rods. You try and go halfway up on the diameter. This one would be a little bit tough in the fact you'd need to really put something that would be in reference to this plane for the rod rather than this lower one here is just clearance on this lathe. So you'd really need something that hooks here if you didn't know that this was machined exactly parallel with this one, which was what we did here. You measure between these and you see what that distance is. And you can take a file, grind some of the teeth away from your file, and you come in here and you can file some of this. Now this is provided that the ways are relatively soft. This doesn't make a good lathe, but it makes a less bad lathe. And sometimes a less bad lathe is all you need. I have actually done this on a mill many years ago and it worked. But the direct question was about using a gib way. And if it was used to its limit on the way, so he had no more travel, about converting it to a screw style gib, coming in from the side of his machine, which would be, this one's just built different than what he's got obviously, but if you came through the side here, say the gib was underneath here, and you could tighten this up with screws. Do I see anything wrong with that? I can see that as working, but I'd try and make sure that you're not going to have trouble otherwise with the ways because of it just plain being too tight at one end or the other. So I'd try and get it relatively straight to start with as much as you can. Even if it's not perfect, straighten it out a little bit if you need to. If it's just one that was poorly fitted from the factory and it's relatively straight, then another thing you may do is take your gib, and even if you don't have it extended, just push it further and see how that works. Then worry about how to maintain it in that position later, after you've just pushed it further forward in to make it tighter. Then you can worry about how to retain it in that position. But one of the things I do a little bit with the screw on the side here is to make sure that your screw gets a good solid dimple, and you don't want to dimple it through the hole and have a whole lot of damage here. But when you dimple this, make it in deep enough so that it holds this, so that you don't end up just pushing this with the screw and driving it against this surface instead of you're trying to tighten this surface over here that's going to wear and run. You don't want to have your screw so that it pushes this up and ends up binding here where you think you're getting an accurate surface and you're not. So hopefully that'll help his situation a little bit. He knows the machine is not perfect that he's working with. We're just trying to make it a little better where we can do something.